What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Flames back at it again. It's another Bible reading video. Today, man. Um, about to be reading out of 2 Samuel chapter 18. Without further ado, man, get right to it. Chapter 18, Absalom killed. Then David mustered the men who were with him and set over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. Some idea they're getting chased right now by Absalom across the Jordan, trying to flee because David's kingdom was gave up before him due to his sin. And David sent out the army, one third under the command of Joab, and one third under the command of Abishai the son of Zerah, Joab's brother, and one third under the command of Idai the Gittite. And the king said to the men, Myself will go out with you, will also go out with you. But the men said, You shall not go out, for if we flee, we will not care about us. If half of us die, they will not care about us. But you are worth 10,000 of us. Before it is better that you send help from the city. Wow. Humble. The king said to them, Whoever seems best to you, I will do. So the king stood at the side of the gate, while all the army marched out by hundreds and by thousands. And the king ordered Joab and Abishai and Idai, Deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom. For all the people heard when the king gave orders to all the commanders about Absalom. So the army went out to the field against Israel. And the battle was fought in the forest of Ephraim. And the men of Israel were defeated by the servants of David. And the loss there was great on that day. There was 20,000 men. The battle spread over the face of all the country. The forest devoured more people that day than the sword. And Absalom happened to meet the servants of David. Absalom was riding on his mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a great oak. And his head caught fast in the oak, and he was suspended between the heaven and the earth, while the mule that was under him went on. And a certain man saw it and told Joab, Behold, I saw Absalom hanging in an oak. Joab said to the man who told him, What, you saw him? Then why did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have been glad to give you 10 pieces of silver and a belt. But the man said to Joab, Even if I felt in my hand the weight of 1,000 pieces of silver, I would not reach out my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king commanded you and Abishai and Idai, for my sake protect the young man Absalom. On the other hand, if I had dealt treacherously against his life, and there nothing hidden from the king, then you yourself would have stood aloof. Joab said, I will not waste time like this with you. And he took 3 javelins in his hand and thrust them into the heart of Absalom when he was still alive in the oak. And 10 young men, Joab's armor-bearers, surrounded by Absalom, and struck him and killed him. And Joab blew the trumpet, and the troops came back from pursuing Israel, and Joab restrained them. And they took Absalom and threw him in a great pit in the forest, and raised over him a very great heap of stones. And all Israel fled everyone to his own home. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up for himself the pillar that is in the king's valley, for he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. He called that pillar after his own name. It is called Absalom's monument to this day. David hears of Absalom's death. Then Ahimaaz the son of Zadok said, We run and carry the news of the king that the Lord has delivered him from the hand of his enemies. And Joab said to him, You are not to carry news today. You may carry news another day, but today you shall carry no news, because the king's son is dead. And Joab said to the Cushite, Go, tell the king what you have seen. The Cushite bowed before Joab and ran. Ahimaaz the king of Zadok said again to Joab, Come what may, let me also run the Cushite. And Joab said, Why will you run, my son, saying that you have no reward in the news? Come what may, said, I will run. And he said to him, Run. And Ahimaaz ran out of the way by the way of the plain, and outran the Cushite. David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up the roof of the gate by the wall. When he looked up his eyes looked, he saw a man running alone. The watchman called out and told the king. And there the king said, If he isn't alone, there is news in his mouth. And he drew nearer and nearer. The watchman saw another man running. The watchman called to the gate and said, See, another man running alone. The king said, He also brings news. The watchman said, I think running of the first is like running of the Ahimaaz son of Zadok. And the king said, He is a good man and comes with good news. And Ahimaaz cried out to the king, All is well. And he bowed before the king with his face to the earth and said, Blessed be the Lord your God, who has delivered up the men who raised their hand against my lord the king. And the king said, Is it well with the young man Absalom? Almaz answered, When Joab sent the king's servant, your servant, I saw a great commotion, but I do not know what it was. And the king said, Turn aside and stand here. So he turned aside and stood still. David's grief. And behold, the Cushite came, and the Cushite said, Good news for my lord the king, for the Lord has delivered you this day from the hand of all who rose up against you. The king said to the Cushite, Is it well with the young man Absalom? The Cushite answered, May the enemies of the Lord, the king, and all who rise up against you for evil be like that young man. And the king was deeply moved and went up in the chamber over the gate and wept. And as he went, he said, Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom. Would I have died instead of you, oh Absalom, my son, my son. So despite his son doing all these bad things towards him, right? He still was grieving for him and he still loved him so much. And that just shows, the kind of person that David was, despite, his mistakes, which we all make. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all. And, I'm gonna catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.